Hey, so there are two things that I noticed happening recently that I wanted to share and also stop keeping a secret what I've been doing in order to develop myself and really overcome my fears. The first thing is that over time, as I've been talking to people about what I do and people asking questions and be like, okay, so you do investments in education. What do you mean by that? What kind of education? Who do you work with? And also in finances, like, what do you mean? Like investment? Oh, you manage people's money. Um, it would get to a point where they would ask me, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid of what you do? And so to be more specific within education, right? I tell people how I've supported people to walk through drug addiction and mental health issues and depression and things like that. And they say, wow, like that's kind of crazy for you to, to say that, that you're able to do that, you're able to help people with that, because a lot of people struggle with that, and it'd be really hard to believe that you can help somebody with drug addiction. And I don't mean like hard drugs. I mean marijuana, among other less addictive drugs. But the main thing with that is people will say, like, aren't you afraid of taking on responsibility like that for other people, or kind of having people rely on you or count on you to walk them through those kind of things. And the other thing is when I talk about investments and people ask, wow, like you're managing so many people's money and so much money, like aren't you afraid of losing everybody's money? And I heard about this and that and all this stuff. And people are asking me, it's like, because they see that I'm certain in what I do. I'm absolutely certain. And they wonder where that came from. And I I tell them it's TechnoTutor, but it doesn't click with them. And so I wanted to make this video to discuss or share why I use TechnoTutor every single day, even though I'm not in school. And the other thing that I noticed is, in the same regard, is I make these live videos, and pushing myself to do this was a whole other thing, but people will reach out to me, which is really awesome. And I highly, highly, highly encourage that. And when I try to get the conversation going, when people are like, whoa, it's really cool what you talk about. And, I wish I could do like what you're talking about. And I wish I want to take more responsibility in my life. And it's really beautiful. When I read those messages, it's really inspiring. But it gets to this point where it becomes this separation between, hey, it's really cool what you're doing, but I can't do that. And it's not typed or spoken or said, but it's underlying that. It's like the way in which the words they're choosing is saying that, wow, like it's really cool what you guys are doing, and I've already chosen my life path, and that's it for me. So I can't do what you're doing, but it's really cool. I'm really glad you're speaking out. So that's why I wanted to talk about why I use TechnoTutor. Me personally, I was the leader, the best of mediocrity. I was the leader of mediocrity. I was the best of the average. To demonstrate that, going through high school, one of the awards I got was valedictorian, which is voted on by your classmates, me along with my partner at the time. And what I realized within that is that people saw me as somebody that they look up to, that they respect, that was charismatic, and that got really good grades and all that stuff. To say that I was like smart when I went to university, I was on the dean's list, I got the scholarships, and I was smart in that regard, traditionally smart within the context of school. And what that programmed me for is to be very obedient, to obey, to be a people pleaser. And the thing that I goofed myself into was thinking that I was smart, because the way in which that word is defined is you get good grades and you're witty, or you're quick, or you can talk about a bunch of bullshit basically. But that's not what gets you results in life. There's two things that every single person on this planet cares about: having money and love and connection. Or another way to say that is money and relationships. And all of this information that I learned, all of this stuff that I learned throughout school and through just people around me in that environment, none of them had the money I was looking for or the relationships I was looking for. Also, none of them could teach me anything that could allow me to express myself where I got those things. A lot of them taught me a lot of cool information. A lot of cool, whoa, think about this. Think of this fact. But my big problem was that I couldn't do anything. When it came to take information to application, I was at a loss. And when I would see people being successful and have the opportunity to meet them and talk to them, and they would share with me what they're doing, I would say, that's really cool that you could do that, but I'm kind of stuck, and I don't have what you have. I don't have what it takes. I just don't believe in myself, basically. But I wouldn't say that. I didn't even know that's what I was thinking. But that's how I'd feel. I would say, that's really cool what you do, but I couldn't do that. And in the same regard, I would see people taking on massive responsibility for business and in regards to their relationships as well. And it's like, I would see them and I'd be like, wouldn't you be afraid to make a decision that affects, hundreds of thousands of people? That's amazing that you run those companies. But aren't you afraid of hurting people's family? And aren't you afraid? And that fear is what kept me stuck. Now, why do I use TechnoTutor every day? You're seeing the little lines being drawn together closer and closer. Well, in 2016, my brother and I, we dropped everything that we thought we were going to dedicate our life to, or at least the conceivable future. And we were like, man, we need a change. And we went to Cancun for a club event from the Global Information Network, and we met a few key individuals. And I've spoken to them in the past, but it was at that event when I was spending time with them that I was really sincerely attracted to Avery, Cameron specifically. The reason is because I could see the relationships that they had, and this is not just from one event, this is over time, but there was still this point inside of me that wanted to make a difference, even though I barely believed in myself, even though I was so afraid of stepping out of line because I used to get hit when I was a child when I do something wrong. And I love my parents, don't get me wrong, I love them to death, and they're doing the best that they could do. But it's important to not to blame, but to acknowledge what has happened to us so that we can take responsibility for it. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. But let's just be honest. The way they were raised culturally is that you hit your child in order to keep them in line. And that just made me feel really, really, really closed off. And I didn't realize it because it's all unconscious. But unconsciously, it's like I wouldn't even consider certain things because it's like, oh, no, if I walk off this path in the forest, then I'm going to get yelled at to come back here and I'm going to get smacked. So I'm not going to walk off the path. It doesn't matter how fun those sticks look or that treehouse looks. It's like, stay here, stay with the family. And in that regard, I would never do anything that would make anybody around me judge me or anything that I would think is scary. And because of that, I never really did anything in my life. I knew that I didn't want to go to university, yet I still went for a year and a half because I didn't know who I was. It was after I left university, that month, I went off to Cancun, I went to LA, I spent a few weeks around people who really want to make a difference in the world. And the key people that really came through were Cameron and Avery. They weren't just talking about making a difference, because that's cool. Oh yeah, let's change the world with love. Oh man, I was such a love and light and just hug everybody and smile at it. If you could just make one person happy, then I've done my job. If I could just make one person happy. But I realized over time, due to the support of vision and reality to see what's actually here from Cameron and Avery, to understand that that's not what it takes to change the world. That's what it takes to keep things the same. To get everybody okay with all the abuse that's happening in this world. What Cameron and Avery have supported me to do and understand, as well as Katie as well, I would speak to her regularly, is that things aren't what they seem. And here's the actual way to move from fear to action, to move from knowledge and information and having all these cool thoughts in your head and ideas to actual application. And over the last 3 years of my life, consistently applying TechnoTutor, where only over the last year or two that I've developed a daily habit of TechnoTutor, my life has completely changed. I used to dream about the relationship that I could have with my brother, where we always used to think, maybe when we're 27 and 30 and, maybe one day we'll be able to, what we wanted was we wanted to run businesses together. We wanted to be in business together because we would work in the same companies, but not really together, or we would work in different companies doing sales. And one day, instead of working with these idiots, we're going to be able to work with each other, and we'll build the way we want to build. And 2 years later, just so happens with our usage of TechnoTutor, it's oh my God, we're running 2.5 companies together. And it's a dream. It is the greatest companies that I could ever imagine myself being a part of. And it's things that nobody has access to. And I'm just so honored to be able to do that with my brother. Apart from the businesses, we're just like any other brother. We would hit each other and fight. And there was a point where, we grew out of the hitting each other and fighting. But we would still bicker and be just super annoyed with everything the other person does. And this is even into young adulthood, where it's just screw off. I don't want to see you right now. Or why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? Oh, there's so much spite and contention between us. But today I can confidently say that my brother Kian is my best friend and the best business partner I've ever had. And everybody always tells us, don't do business with your family. Well, screw you, because you don't know who my family is. You don't know who my brother is. You don't know the relationship we have. And that's fair, because it truly is an unbelievable relationship. I didn't even know that I could have that kind of relationship. Over the last few months, I've developed a romantic relationship with my girlfriend that I met, that we started dating several months ago, back in around November time. And even that has grown so quickly into something that I didn't think was possible. I didn't think that it was something that was possible, let alone that I could have, me, Asif, with somebody else. And that's just been with consistent support from TechnoTutor and from the TechnoTutor network. The main thing with that being that what I use it for is to program myself and my subconscious with the behaviors that I want, with the thoughts that I want to have, with the beliefs that I want to hold true to myself. Not, I'm going to be a millionaire. No, I'm not. I'm going to be a millionaire. No, I'm not. It's I'm going to be a millionaire. This is exactly what I have to do to get there. And if I follow this mathematical equation or these steps, then I will be there. I could not see that before. Now, it's not even, it's what's the next step now? I know millions are easy, but what's the next step? And I couldn't have done that without the product TechnoTutor and the network that is behind TechnoTutor. Cameron and Avery have the experience and the leadership and communication ability that has been unmatched. It was because of him that I first pushed myself to make my first Facebook Live, which was the scariest and most invigorating feeling I've ever freaking felt. It was amazing. But beyond that, the reason I still use it for myself every day, even though it's an educational technology, yet I'm not in school, is because the word education comes from the word educe. And that word comes from a Latin word that means to lead out. My big challenge was I was the leader of mediocrity. I was going to be the best average Joe ever. I was going to work 9 to 5 and just put the blinders on and not really be able to think that I'm thinking awesome stuff, but just move forward in life and just be a people pleaser and make people happy. But with all these cool ideas about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to change the world, actually being able to speak about it practically with the network in TechnoTutor and then lead the information out of me into reality was the greatest gift that I could ever ask for. So Cameron, if you watch this, Avery, if you watch this, Katie, if you watch this, thank you so much for everything that you've done for me, my brother, all the distributors, and all the TechnoTutor clients, because I can't tell you I can't imagine what my life would be like if I wasn't living this life. And I know it's the most difficult thing that I'll ever do, but I know because of that, it will be the most rewarding thing that I ever do. And it already has been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. So why I'm making this video is because I've been keeping this to myself because I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid to make these big claims of like, what do you mean you can help with mental health? Nobody can help me with my problem. Nobody can help me with the way I feel. Nobody can help me with my frustrations. Nobody can help me get out of my situation. You stop acting like you have the answers. People try to shit on me all the time. People who used to shit on me, who get TechnoTutor, then they see what I'm saying. And they thank me. They thank me for pushing them. And I'm not doing this to gas myself up, but I do it because I've had to thank Cameron for pushing me, for making me hurt when I didn't want to hurt, for making me look at myself honestly when I didn't want to. Right before I got into TechnoTutor, taking it more seriously, I was a professional actor and I had went into this. I was so convinced, and I'm sure a lot of actors are, who want to make a difference in the world, right? I was so convinced that if I want to make a difference and if I just become a professional actor, I'll be able to make the movies to move people to take action. And it's only now that I can see how much bullshit that was, only because I now know what it takes to actually change the world. Right before I became a TechnoTutor distributor, this is after using TechnoTutor for 2 years consistently and changing every point in my life and bringing myself to making well over just 5 figures, just breaking 5 figures. I destroyed what income I thought was even possible. And that month when I was making the most money I've ever made in my life, what many people make in, a whole half a year in 1 month, I was in Australia. And I realized that to keep this a secret would be the most incredibly harmful thing that I could do to myself and to others. One of the ways that Avery describes it, which really hit home, when I would come to him, after I became a distributor, and I'd come to him with my fears about, what about my parents? Like, they're going to judge me, and my cousins, they're going to judge me, and my friends, they're going to judge me, and what about this, what about that, and people are going to think this and that. And he said, Asif, if you had the cure for cancer, when would you stop? And that's when I realized, never. Never. The reason I would recommend you should seriously consider reaching out to me just to talk. I'm not here to, I'll tell you right now, I do sell TechnoTutor now. I'm not shy to say that because I'm very confident in what I do. Not because it looks good, because I've seen people change their lives. That my fear of offending people and being afraid of what people think is no longer valid. It's about doing the right thing. And the reason I would encourage you to reach out to me and just talk, just tell me what's going on in your life, let's talk about it, is because I know that no matter what it is, the only way to solve it is by being connected with people who have the tools for you to use yourself to change yourself internally. There's one thing speaking to the conscious mind and thinking and figuring things out and having realizations, but that does not lead to you changing your life. You could figure out, oh, this is how I gotta line my knuckles up to hit a golf ball. I gotta, hit it right in the center of the ball. You could understand it all you want. But if you can't swing that golf club, keep the shoulders square and really drive it through, then you're not gonna get the result you want. But what if, whether it be being the best husband, the best wife, the best mother, the best father, the best student, the best athlete, the best salesperson, what if you could program yourself to do so? Kind of like if anybody's seen The Matrix, when Neo goes into the chair and they play out all this thing and everybody's watching him, and then he comes out of the chair and he's like, whoa, I know Kung Fu. What if you can download into the knowing part of your body where you live the expression anything you want? Seriously, consider it. Because you would be shocked about how much you can actually change when you have the tools and the desire to change. I can help you develop the desire by showing you how and explaining reality in a way that you've never seen it before. And I can support you with the tools. So there's no more excuse. Reach out and we'll just talk, okay? Yes, I sell it, but I only sell it to people who I want to work with. I don't want to work with people who are like, oh, but what is this? And like, what are you talking about, man? Like, nah, I just want to talk. Because people, connecting with people, is always the foundation of actual change. It's the only reason why I can say that I have some success in my life and I'm going to have massive success in the future is because of the relationships I've developed with my brother, Mitchell, Mustafa, Drake, Mahyar, all the distributors in the group, David, everybody. There's so many people, I can't even name them all, but Cameron and Avery, Katie, standing by every step of the way. They were the only people who I could see that was willing to step down from where they're from, even though they made $1 million in their first year, even though that Avery made millions of dollars while having 2 kids and a wife at a very young age. They were willing to come back to us, to the average Joes who didn't know what to do with their life, who felt lost, who felt broken by the world that we live in, knowing that there's so much suffering, so much poverty, and we just accept it that that's just how it is, so I just have to go and make money and eventually die and teach that to my children. They were willing to come back and walk us step by step, every step of the way, to show us who we truly are. That we are people that can change. And they even brought us to a point where we were so self-led and responsible that we could teach others to change. And that has been the greatest gift that I could have ever asked for in my life. So thank you to you guys, and anybody watching this, please open up the conversation. I'm a nice guy, I swear. I can be a dick sometimes, but I think starting again, sold, where did I sign up? I'll come fill out the paperwork back with it. But I think starting with, hello, let's talk. Here's what's going on in my life. I'll tell you about my life. If you're in Ottawa, let's meet up. Let's hang out. Let's get that physical contact back in our lives, right? But reach out and let's talk. And I'm going to make a lot more videos standing up for what I see is real. And maybe shitting on a little bit the things I see that are not real, so that people are not led into bullshit, so then they just run in this circle wondering what's going on in their lives. Like, I'm here to bust you out of that circle. That is why I am here, and for nothing else. Because Avery says this one line that I see that he lives it. I'm like, why are you spending time with that person? That person, they have no chance, or like they don't even care. Avery says this. He says, Asif, he says, it's either all of us or none of us. So he said, I prefer to go with all of us. So don't feel shy. Reach out. Let's connect. Until next time, I'll make more videos like this, so keep an eye out.